She slapped me across the face and demanded my keys. The next day, she regretted everything. Monica stood at the edge of the cluttered office, wiping down the chipped metal desk with her faded rag, her navy windbreaker draped over the back of the chair. The storm outside pounded rhythmically against the large front windows, casting shifting shadows across the worn linoleum floor. She relished these quiet moments after the chaos of the day, a chance to organize her thoughts, tidy up the few scattered papers, and prepare for the graveyard shift she'd soon start. Her work wasn't glamorous: abandoned cars, stubborn engines, late nights full of loneliness. But Monica took pride in being reliable, steady, a quiet anchor for the crew. Still, underneath that calm exterior, years of feeling overlooked gnawed at her. Suddenly, the office door slammed open. Monica's breath caught as Madison stormed in. The owner's daughter and a part-time shift manager, Madison always carried a certain brash confidence. Flashy designer jacket, perfectly done hair, the kind that made Monica feel invisible despite her years on the floor. Tonight, however, there was an unusual intensity in her eyes. "Give me the master keys, now." Madison's voice cracked sharp and cold. Monica barely had time to react before she was grabbed by the arm and yanked from her chair, the sudden motion wobbling the pile of invoices nearby. "Madison," Monica began, but was cut off. Without warning, a harsh slap cracked across Monica's cheek. The sting bloomed instantly, hot and sharp against her skin. The entire crew in the adjoining garage froze mid-conversation, the muffled clang of wrenches and low engine rumbles grinding to an abrupt halt. Hearts pounded. Monica's hand rose instinctively to her face, fingers trembling. "Don't argue. You're not trusted," Madison said flatly, her gaze icy. With a forceful jerk, she wrenched the heavy ring of keys from Monica's grip. The keys hit the floor with a sharp, jangling clatter that echoed through the room, metal against tile, a piercing, taunting sound. Underneath the keys lay a crumpled blue invoice, the header stamped urgently, "Late Night Safety Lock Test." Monica's fingers twitched as she instinctively clutched it close to her chest, the paper slightly damp from her palms. The room was silent. Monica's team stared, frozen or shocked, as the tension thickened like the coming storm outside. The electricity in the air seemed to hum louder in her ears. A heavy, unspoken question hung between them. What would happen next? The wind rattled the doorframe, and Monica's heartbeat rose, not from fear, but from a stubborn determination settling deep in her chest. Something about that blue invoice, that slipping moment, felt like a key to turning this all around. But for now, all she could do was stand, cheek burning, staring at the heap of keys and the sharp glare of Madison's eyes. And the night stretched before her, long and uncertain. Monica pushed open the break room door the next morning, the familiar scent of coffee and motor oil mixing in the stale air. She immediately noticed the fresh memo scrawled in thick black marker on the whiteboard. "Supervisors may not retain keys after closing, by order of management." Her heart sank before she even finished reading. The words felt like a slap. Madison stood nearby, arms crossed, cheeks flushed with the forced confidence of someone trying to command authority. Her eyes pinned Monica down as she loudly read the memo. "Effective immediately, no supervisors keep the master keys once we're closed." Her voice wavered slightly, an edge of nervousness beneath the bravado. "This is for everyone's safety," she added, though the flip in her tone suggested an undercurrent of something more personal. Monica scanned the room. The crew was scattered about, tucked behind tool cabinets or leaning on door frames, avoiding her gaze. A few smirks floated here and there, some cold, dismissive, but others carried pity. She caught a brief glance from Kyle, a young mechanic new to night shifts. His eyes were sharp, flicking toward Monica with quiet sympathy before he hurriedly looked away, clearly wary of Madison's presence. The tension was thick, hanging heavier than the lingering scent of burnt oil. Monica's throat tightened, but she squared her shoulders, determined not to crumble publicly again. Madison's glare made it clear this was a test of control, one Monica was not meant to pass. The rest of the team's silence felt like a slow drag of judgment. It wasn't the first time Monica felt invisible or sidelined, but the sting of the last night's slap still smoldered raw on her cheek. Amid the hum of fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, a fresh bit of news cut through the heavy atmosphere. Corporate sent warned, "We have a surprise after-hours safety inspection scheduled for tomorrow night," Madison announced, her voice cracking just enough to reveal the pressure she felt. "Make no mistakes, this is serious. Any failure could mean major penalties for the shop." Monica absorbed the weight of those words. The deadline was narrow, the stakes high, and the inevitable threat of the audit loomed over everyone. For a moment, her chest tightened, not from fear, but from the flicker of reluctant hope. The inspection could be a chance to prove her worth, despite the growing hostility. Yet the blistering humiliation still hovered, ready to pull her under. As Madison stepped away, fiddling with the collar of her designer jacket, a soft quiet settled for a brief heartbeat, the small pause Monica needed to breathe. Drawing in a shaky inhale, she glanced at Kyle again. His subtle nod, barely visible, was a fragile thread of support in the storm. Maybe, just maybe, she could find someone who saw more than the surface. When dignity finally speaks, who tends to listen in your world? Monica's footsteps echoed hollowly through the poorly lit office as she approached Madison's desk. The faint hum of machines from the garage blended with the steady drip of rain outside. She forced her voice steady. "Hey, Madison, can we talk about the keys policy? I want to understand what changed." Madison looked up, eyes sharp but distant, like she already heard this all before. "It's been decided. No more master keys for supervisors overnight. End of discussion," she said. Turning back to her phone, frustrated but wary, Monica retreated to the cabinet where all the safety files were supposed to be meticulously kept. Her fingers trembled as she searched through thick binders, hoping for a record that would justify her position. But when she opened the section for last week's late-night safety logs, the sheet with her name and signature was missing. Not misplaced, it was gone. Her heartbeat hit a hollow rhythm. Without that log, her competence, her trustworthiness, everything felt suddenly erased. Later, she sat in her aging sedan in the empty parking lot, rain drizzling softly over the windshield. The night muffled the city's noises, but inside her, a storm roared. The sting in her cheek still throbbed, but beneath it lay something deeper, an ache of doubt that maybe all her work wasn't enough. She switched on the engine to warm up, shutting out the cool, damp air. A lump rose in her throat, and tears pressed behind her eyes, threatening to overflow. She swallowed hard. "I could just hand in my notice," she thought. "Transfer to a night shift at another place where no one knows me, no one expects. A fresh start, away from this mess." The idea beckoned sweetly, but came with a bitter cost. She thought of the nights she'd stayed late, the coffees she'd brewed for tired mechanics, the care she'd taken when no one else asked. Then, just as she reached for the door handle to leave, she spotted movement inside the garage through the fogged side window. Kyle crouched by some stacked crates, carefully folding her navy windbreaker. His face was etched with quiet concern. She watched as he slipped something into the pocket, something blue. Cautiously, Monica stepped out into the rain, hesitating only a moment before calling his name. Kyle jumped, startled at first, but then nodded quickly. He pulled the coat off the crate and handed it to her. Monica felt the weight of the fabric in her hands, the musty scent of oil mingling with faint traces of rain. Slowly, she slid her fingers into the pocket. There it was, the edge of that same blue invoice, the one stamped urgent late-night safety lock test. Her pulse quickened, the knot in her chest loosening just enough to breathe. It wasn't lost. It wasn't stolen. It was right there. "That I can trust you," Kyle said, eyes meeting hers with steady reassurance. "Don't let them tell you otherwise." For a long moment, Monica held the paper close, feeling a spark of something she hadn't dared to name: hope. It was fragile, but it was real. And sometimes, that's all you need to find your way forward. A night wrapped the auto shop in cold gray shadows. Outside, rain hammered against the wide, cracked windows in steady pulses. the sound a relentless murmuring against the silence inside. Monica sat at the worn service desk, the fluorescent lights overhead flickering sporadically, casting uneven halos on scattered receipts and half-empty coffee cups. Her cheek still throbbed faintly, a dull reminder of the slap that had stunned the room days earlier. She traced her fingers lightly over the tender skin, the red faded but not gone. Her gaze drifted to the polished glass of the monitor reflecting her weary face. In that fractured reflection, she saw more than fatigue. She saw invisibility, like smoke drifting through walls, there but unnoticed. Each hum of the faint fluorescent buzz echoed her isolation. Suddenly, a sharp voice broke through the quiet. Madison's footsteps echoed as she paced near the back office. Voice low but urgent. Monica's ear tuned, catching fragments that settled like rain on her skin. "I won't get blamed for that inspection mess again." The words trembled, brittle and brittle as if fighting panic. "It's Monica's shift logs, or I'm out." The confession spilled unintentionally, raw fear barely masked by the firm tone. Monica froze. The air thickened with a mix of dread and hope. This was more than power play now, it was fear. The tremor in Madison's voice betrayed cracks in the polished arrogance, hinting at pressure Monica hadn't fully grasped. As Madison hurried past, a stray sheet of paper slipped from her hand, fluttering like a wounded bird onto the scuffed floor near the door. Monica's breath caught. Instinct pulled her out of the chair before careful thought. She bent, fingertips brushing the cold paper. The fluorescent light illuminated a crisp company-wide memo. Its bold heading stark against the page. Policy update. Only supervisors who have successfully completed the late-night safety protocol may retain master keys outside business hours. Monica's heart sank and soared at once. This memo directly contradicted Madison's enforced ban, a hidden truth well within reach. The paper was marked with a recent date and an official stamp, corporate evidence that challenged Madison's authority. The weight of the document in her hand was heavier than ink on paper. It was a tangible key to justice. Outside, thunder rumbled low, shaking the glass as the storm deepened. Monica's reflection flickered in the darkened monitor, the faint smile of resolve ghosting on her lips. The red on her cheek faded, but a brighter fire ignited inside. This night was no longer an ending, it was the cusp of a turning point. The truth was within reach, and with it, the power to rewrite the story. When dignity finally speaks, who tends to listen in your world? Monica took a steadying breath and dialed Kyle's number, her fingers trembling slightly. His voice came through, calm but concerned. "Hey, Monica, what's up?" She explained quickly, "I need you to check the timestamp on that invoice, the urgent late-night safety lock test one I dropped. If it matches the digital logs, it could prove I did the run." There was a pause. Then, "Give me 5 minutes. I've got the system open." While waiting, Monica rooted through the bottom of the coat rack, her navy windbreaker finally appearing, crumpled but intact. She felt the familiar fabric, the place where she'd slipped the invoice the night before when the chaos hit. The pocket still held the folded blue paper, slightly wrinkled but clear enough. Her heart pounded in a mixture of hope and dread. This was fragile ground. One misstep, and everything could collapse. Kyle called back, voice low but firm. "Okay, timestamp's legit. Matches your shift time exactly. The system shows the test was completed at 2:15 a.m., and your name's signed off. Looks official." Relief washed through Monica like a tide. She exhaled deeply and smiled, the first genuine one in days. But the battle wasn't over. Monica found a freshly printed policy memo pinned on the office bulletin board, the same company-wide directives she'd picked up that stormy night. The bold lettering was impossible to ignore. Policy effective immediately. Supervisors authorized to retain master keys overnight must have successfully completed the late-night safety protocol. It was clear and decisive, stamped with the date 3 days ago and signed by the corporate operations director. She tacked the memo beside the invoice on the notice board and sat back, the full weight of what she was facing pressing down. if she couldn't present both documents clearly at tomorrow's surprise audit. She risked not only losing her job, but potentially putting the entire shop at risk of failing the compliance inspection. The auditor might even recommend heavy penalties or closer scrutiny from corporate. Monica's phone vibrated again. It was Kyle, offering quiet support. "You're doing the right thing. I'll back you up if needed." His words held the steady kindness she'd sorely needed. For a brief moment, Monica allowed herself to imagine the possible turnaround. The clear evidence, the policy backing her, and an unexpected ally standing quietly in her corner. But she couldn't forget the stakes. Madison wasn't just a rival. She was determined, with plausible deniability and enough pressure from above to play hardball. Monica's gaze settled on the blue windbreaker hanging beside the door, a symbol of her perseverance during all those overlooked nights. Tomorrow, she'd suit up and meet the challenge head-on. The shop's fate and her own integrity depended on it. When dignity finally speaks, who tends to listen in your world? The sudden chime of the auditor's arrival echoed through the cramped office just before the day's last shift. Monica tightened her navy windbreaker around her, the weight of the fabric grounding her as she walked calmly to the front desk. Madison lingered nearby, unusually fidgety, her perfect composure cracking in the flickering fluorescent light. Beads of sweat glistened on her forehead, betraying the tension she tried hard to mask. The auditor, a sharp-eyed woman named Karen, flipped open her custom binder and met Monica's gaze. "We'll need proof of late-night safety compliance," Karen said, voice professional but firm, scanning the room. Madison hurried toward the desk, planting herself defiantly between Monica and the auditor. "I'll handle this," Madison insisted, voice strained but authoritative. "I'm in charge here." Monica's jaw tightened, but she didn't step back. Instead, she took a breath and pulled from the pocket of her windbreaker the crisp blue invoice stamped urgent, late-night safety lock test. She slid it across the desk. Then, she reached for the tablet, loaded with detailed digital logs showing the timestamp and supervisor signatures from her overnight shift. Lastly, she handed over the company-wide memo with its official stamp, confirming that only supervisors who completed the late-night safety protocol were authorized to hold master keys after hours. Karen's eyes narrowed briefly as she scanned the documents, every piece laid out clearly, matching perfectly with timestamps and policy dates. Madison's face tightened, frustration flickering in her eyes. She opened her mouth to protest, but the evidence was undeniable, precise and professional. Karen raised a hand gently, cutting off Madison's attempt to reclaim authority. "Everything appears to be in order," Karen said, voice steady. "Monica clearly followed the proper protocol and is authorized to hold the master keys overnight. Madison, it seems your enforcement contradicts company policy." The room stilled. Madison's shoulders drooped, a flicker of hesitation passing through her usually confident demeanor. It was a momentary glimpse beneath the surface, the pressure weighing on her from above, the fragile line she'd been trying to walk between authority and personal vendettas. The auditor's presence shifted the atmosphere. Staff exchanged glances, the silent question hanging. Would Monica finally get the recognition she deserved? The cool confidence Monica radiated made it clear she had passed the unspoken test. As Karen nodded once more, Madison stepped back, her voice quieter now. "I understand," she said, less an apology, more an acknowledgement of defeat. "This situation has been stressful for everyone." Monica's lips pressed into a tight smile, holding on to the steady calm that had carried her through countless overlooked shifts. The power balance in the shop was realigning before their eyes. Justice delivered not by loud confrontation, but by undeniable truth. When dignity finally speaks, who tends to listen in your world? The auditor cleared her throat, a crisp finality in the sound that filled the workshop's cramped office. "Based on the documents and logs submitted," Karen stated, eyes scanning the last page one final time, "it's clear that Monica followed the company's late-night safety protocol completely and thoroughly." Her gaze lifted to meet the room's wary eyes before settling back on Monica. Therefore, she's authorized to hold the master keys overnight. Relieved murmurs fluttered through the crew, a stirring shift in the cramped, oil-stained space. Madison's confident posture faltered visibly, her lips pressed into a thin line, eyes darting under the steady gaze of the auditor. Monica met Madison's glance without flinching, the quiet resilience in her gaze a stark contrast to the fading arrogance before her. Karen continued, "The shop has passed the compliance inspection with distinction, thanks primarily to Monica's careful management and adherence to safety protocols." She flipped to the next page and laid down the compliance sticker, bright and official, ready to be affixed to the front door, a visible seal of approval. Madison's voice trembled as she stepped forward, the bravado cracked now, revealing raw vulnerability. "I want to apologize to Monica and the team. My actions were misguided, and I overstepped my bounds." Her eyes lingered on Monica, a flicker of recognition and perhaps regret shining faintly before she turned away. The tension dissolved slowly, replaced by unspoken acknowledgement. Monica's shoulders relaxed, but her smile was measured, earned, not given. The shop's atmosphere subtly changed, the camaraderie that had been stifled now simmering back to life. One of the younger mechanics, Kyle, caught Monica's eye and grinned broadly, a silent cheer of triumph and respect. As Monica pinned the new senior supervisor badge next to her well-worn navy windbreaker on her lapel, the applause filled the room, modest but genuine. In that moment, the countless late hours, the overlooked efforts, the humiliation, all crystallized into something solid, undeniable. Monica wasn't just seen, she was valued, and the price of perseverance had ushered in a new chapter, one where quiet strength commanded its rightful place. When dignity finally speaks, who tends to listen in your world? The night was still as Monica flicked off the last fluorescent light in the cramped office, the soft click echoing faintly in the empty auto shop. Outside, the sky was clear, moonlight spilling in through the tall windows and casting long silver shadows that stretched along the cracked concrete floor. Her navy windbreaker, worn but steadfast, lay folded over her arm like a trusted shield. She paused by the door, fingertips brushing the new brass hook where the master keys now hung, a simple addition, but loaded with meaning. It was a quiet victory, a symbol of the respect finally earned after months of silent struggles and public humiliation. The label she had printed, neat and precise, senior supervisor. Her breath came steady and calm as she tied the windbreaker around her waist, the familiar fabric cushioning her as she stepped out into the cool night air. Monica caught her reflection in the glass door, tired eyes softened by pride, a small smile playing at her lips. She raised her hand slowly in a gentle private gesture, a nod to herself, to the battles fought unseen, and to the strength that never wavered. The shop behind her now felt different. The halls echoed not just with the hum of machinery, but with quiet acknowledgement, a new current of respect threading its way through the tired faces of coworkers. Monica's journey was a testament to something deeper. Real authority was earned through kindness, perseverance, and unwavering dignity. It wasn't a loud triumph, but it was real. The next morning, before dawn streaked the sky with pale gold, Monica found Kyle already waiting by the tool rack. His eager smile greeted her like a small promise. She ruffled his hair lightly, the mentor now stepping forward into her new role with quiet confidence. "Ready to learn," he said simply. Monica nodded, heart full. Together they moved back into the shop floor, a new chapter unfolding, one where respect wasn't demanded or taken, but given, earned in the course of everyday work and every small act of integrity. If a moment like this ever hit close to home, I'd love to hear how you found your way forward. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button. See you in our next story.